Did Buckingham Palace or Prince William set a trap for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and were they gullible enough to fall into it?
Again, I have to be careful what I say, but that I won't be able to show, my children my homeland.
Please subscribe. It costs you nothing, but it truly means so much to me. It's almost comedy at this point, except it's real life. Meghan and Harry were once hyped as the shiny modern reboot of the royal family, the fresh faces, the global dream team. Now, they've somehow turned themselves into international punchlines. They stormed out of the palace shouting about privacy, acting like they wanted peace and quiet. Yet since that exit, they've dropped more interviews, docuseries, podcasts, and tell-all books than any working royal ever has. Privacy, please. In their world, that word seems to mean let's monetize every memory and every complaint we've got. And let's be honest, the public isn't confused because they left. People get wanting space. What raises eyebrows is the non-stop spotlight after claiming you wanted darkness. Every time the cameras roll, every time another exclusive drops, it chips away at the original message. You can't sell silence at premium prices. That's not how it works. Meghan walked into Buckingham Palace like she was about to remix centuries of tradition. She moved like she was the headline, not the footnote. But here's the twist. The monarchy doesn't bend for Netflix contracts or podcast sponsors. Those palace walls were standing long before streaming platforms, and they're not shaking for Hollywood vibes. And Harry? Man, Harry. Once the cheeky prince everyone rooted for, the soldier with swagger, the royal rebel with heart. Now he looks like the side character in his own movie. Instead of leading the story, he's tagging along on California talk shows, nodding through interviews like a guy who swapped a crown for green juice and meditation apps. That shift didn't happen overnight. It was slow, public, and impossible to ignore. The biggest irony? They said they left to protect their children, Archie and Lilibet, from the spotlight. Fair enough. But then those same kids pop up when it fits the storyline. That's what confuses people. You can't shout no cameras and then roll out selective glimpses when it boosts the brand. Folks notice patterns, and the pattern feels strategic.
Buckingham Palace is being pressured to remove Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet from the UK's royal line of succession until the Duchess provides absolute proof that she popped out both babies herself.
Meghan is using everything for publicity and not really truly there. We know how she treats her family and friends.
William despises Harry and Meghan at this stage, and when he is king, his fury will rain down on them. He has absolutely no intention to allow Archie and Lilibet to use their HRH title.
Drop a family photo when headlines get rough. Mention the kids when sympathy dips. Keep details tight but references steady. It's subtle, but it's there. And audiences today are sharp. They connect dots fast. Their entire platform leans on the idea that the palace is cold and outdated. Yet at the same time, there's this constant push for royal titles, recognition, and connection to the very system they criticize. That's like tossing a brick through someone's window, then ringing the bell asking for tea and biscuits. And the contradictions don't stop there. One minute Meghan speaks about how tough royal life was. The next, she's styled like a global humanitarian icon in designer couture, posing like the world's watching her every move. Meanwhile, Harry says he's defending his family's dignity, but he's also sharing deeply personal family conflicts in books and interviews. You can't preach privacy while selling details to the highest bidder. That tension is what keeps this story alive. For years, the palace said nothing. Absolute silence. No clapbacks, no public feuds, just restraint. But silence isn't weakness. Sometimes it's strategy. And when that quiet finally shifts, it lands heavy. What's unfolding around Archie and Lilibet isn't about emotion, it's about rules. Old ones, serious ones. To get why Buckingham Palace's move feels so sharp, you have to rewind over a century, back to 1917, when King George V issued the letters patent, a legal framework that locked in who is and who isn't, entitled to be called a prince or princess. It wasn't created to target anyone today. It was designed to protect the monarchy from chaos, favoritism, and anyone trying to slide in through the side door. The rules, clear and structured, royal bloodline legitimacy, proper registration under the Crown's authority, religious recognition through the Church of England, no Hollywood loopholes, no "we're living our truth in Montecito" exceptions. This isn't reality TV, it's constitutional tradition. And here's where the clash really shows. Meghan and Harry treated titles like something you could win back with enough PR sparkle and streaming deals. But the palace doesn't move on vibes. It moves on precedent. It doesn't care about trending hashtags or primetime specials. The monarchy runs on structure, and structure doesn't fold under pressure.
Meghan just wants to be an Instagram influencer. That has always been her level, always been her drive. Once everything else has been dried up, the kids are next. The kids were always on the docket to be part of the image selling and everything.
Those dusty old documents, they carry more weight than any emotional sit-down interview ever could. That's why the palace stayed ice cold. Not out of spite, not over grudges, but because bending those rules even once would crack the whole foundation wide open. Imagine if every distant cousin, reality TV personality, or celebrity spouse could wake up one morning and decide their child should be called prince or princess just because it felt right. That's not monarchy, that's chaos. Love them or not, the royal family survives on one thing: order. Structure is their currency. Tradition is their shield. Without that, the entire system starts wobbling. Meghan and Harry took a gamble. They bet that star power, media pull, and global fame could pressure Buckingham Palace into rewriting history. But the palace didn't blink. Instead, it sent a quiet but brutal reminder. Royalty isn't a lifestyle brand you can repackage. It's not a streaming deal. It's not a curated narrative. It's a centuries-old system that doesn't care about Montecito mansions, podcast contracts, or polished sympathy stories. And for Archie and Lilibet, that system didn't bend. Now think back to 2019. Archie's arrival should have been pure fairy tale energy. A royal baby, crowds cheering, front pages glowing. Britain does royal pageantry better than anyone. For a moment, that's exactly how it looked. The announcement dropped, cameras flashed, Meghan and Harry smiled. Then came the twist no one expected.
In this case, about whether you think the birth was real, whether you think there was a surrogate, whether you think Meghan was wearing a moon bump, the fact is, Harry and Meghan lied. Buckingham Palace lied on their behalf. There was a complete cover-up over the birth of Prince Archie.
Archie's birth certificate was changed. Meghan's legal name disappeared, replaced with the formal title, Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex. No public explanation. No clear precedent. No consistency with past royal records. Even Princess Diana kept her name. Even Catherine did. So why the sudden switch? That single edit cracked open a storm of questions. Was it Meghan's choice? A palace directive? A strategic move to reshape Archie's official status? Because in royal protocol, paperwork isn't random. It's precise. And when something looks different, people notice. Royal records are treated like sacred text. Titles, names, dates, every detail is double-checked, formatted, archived. So when Meghan's legal name shifted to a formal title on Archie's certificate, it didn't feel casual, it felt deliberate. And deliberate moves inside the monarchy always spark speculation. This wasn't some minor clerical slip, it felt symbolic, like a quiet shift happening behind the velvet curtain. Every royal baby before him had documents that aligned cleanly with tradition. Archie's looked different, and in monarchy language, different can signal deeper tension. Observers started connecting dots fast. Was this about modernizing the image, creating distance from her past, strengthening the Duchess identity? Or was it about tightening palace control over how things were officially presented? No one got a clear answer, and that vacuum only fueled the chatter. To the public, he was a smiling baby wrapped in blankets. But behind the scenes, the documentation hinted at uncertainty. Not loud, not dramatic, just subtle and powerful. And subtle shifts inside old institutions often mean bigger conversations are happening out of sight. Royal insiders rarely explain themselves. They move quietly, they adjust, they let time do the talking. But the internet doesn't wait for time. It dissects everything in real time. If Archie's birth sparked whispers, Lilibet's arrival turned those whispers into a full-on alarm. Born in California in 2021, her entrance into the world looked nothing like generations before her. No grand steps outside St. Mary's Hospital. No framed notice on an easel at Buckingham Palace. No ceremonial buzz. Instead, the announcement came through a press release from Harry and Meghan's team in California. For a royal child, that absence hit differently. Tradition thrives on optics, the hospital steps, the carefully placed easel, the formal wording approved by the palace. Those rituals aren't random. They reinforce continuity. Remove them, and the visual language changes instantly. Historically, even babies far down the line of succession received formal acknowledgement from the crown. Lilibet's arrival, however, came without the traditional signals people were used to seeing. And in a system built on ceremony, silence carries weight. It wasn't just about celebration, it was about structure. Recognition in royal terms connects a child to centuries of continuity. It weaves them into the institutional fabric. Without that visible thread, the message felt clear.
Meghan views those two children as commercial assets, which is gross and awful.
Meghan needs content.
It's really quite sad.
Prince William has had enough of Prince Harry's ludicrous claims.
This was different. Lilibet is undeniably Meghan and Harry's daughter. That's never been the question. But institutionally, her arrival reflected a new reality, one shaped by distance, geography, and changed roles. Where other royal babies symbolize continuity within the crown, Lilibet's birth felt like a deeply personal family moment. American, intimate, separate from palace tradition. And that contrast spoke volumes. In royal dynamics, silence isn't empty, it's intentional. And sometimes what isn't said echoes louder than any balcony wave ever could. A royal baptism has never been just a christening. It's a sacred stamp, a formal welcome, a symbolic binding of a child to both the Church of England and the monarchy itself. Ceremony, heritage, legitimacy, all wrapped into one powerful ritual. For generations, that moment locked royal babies into history. For Lilibet, though, that moment played out very differently. Yes, Meghan and Harry held a baptism in California. There were close friends, a private gathering, heartfelt celebration. It mattered deeply to them as parents. But institutionally, the Church of England did not formally log it in the same traditional way royal baptisms have been recorded. And in royal protocol, official recording carries serious weight. Because once it's recorded, it's permanent, it's archived. It becomes part of the kingdom's spiritual and historical ledger. Without that formal stamp, the ceremony remains personal, meaningful, but not institutionally embedded. And in a monarchy built on documentation, that distinction matters more than most people realize. Without that entry into the established ceremonial record, Lilibet's name doesn't sit in the same documented lineage that links William, George, Charlotte, and Louis through the church's historical chain. This isn't about personal faith, it's about structure. Every royal child before her had their baptism woven into the monarchy's religious framework, a visible link in a centuries-old system. Lilibet's ceremony, by contrast, was handled as a private family event. Meaningful, yes. Public in a modern sense, sure, but not embedded in the traditional machinery that defines royal continuity. And in a monarchy built on recorded tradition, absence can speak loudly. That decision, or outcome, depending on how you view it, placed her in a unique space, loved by her parents, celebrated in California, but not formally anchored in the same institutional way within royal archives. For an establishment that revolves around lineage and order, that distinction matters. Spiritually personal doesn't automatically translate to ceremonially recognized. And in royal language, incomplete documentation doesn't mean scandal. It means separation from formal structure. Now here's where it gets bigger. Meghan and Harry's global image has always leaned heavily on their royal connection. That tension between palace duty and personal freedom built their entire narrative. It powered documentaries, it sold memoirs, it fueled interviews. But when their children's formal ties to the institution appear limited by protocol, that storyline shifts. Without titles or traditional recognition, Archie and Lilibet aren't positioned as heirs sidelined. They're seen as American children growing up outside the working framework of the monarchy. That changes perception.
It is such a pleasure to be here in my new home of the UK.
When you have been lied about for a series of years, how hurtful that is.
Meghan is willing to show pictures of her kids. I think it just depends on how many zeros are at the end of the check.
Meghan's carefully crafted image as a modern duchess and global advocate becomes more complex when the institutional link looks thinner than expected. The glossy productions that promised insider access begin to feel less like royal revelation and more like personal storytelling. Even Harry's memoir, framed as a prince challenging the system, lands differently when the system itself maintains strict distance. And in royal circles, perception is power. For Meghan's business ventures, speaking engagements, and partnerships, her royal chapter remains part of the appeal. That's reality. But without deep institutional embedding of her children into the monarchy's formal structure, comparisons to figures like Diana or Catherine don't line up in the same traditional way. The foundation simply isn't identical. From the palace perspective, this isn't punishment, it's policy. Once recognition isn't formally extended within established guidelines, the structure holds firm. No dramatic announcements, no emotional back and forth, just adherence to precedent. For Prince Harry, though, this hits differently. Reports suggest he made efforts privately, hoping to secure clearer footing for his children within royal history. Not loudly, not theatrically, but persistently. Yet the response remained consistent. Legacy is governed by rules, not emotion. For someone raised inside that institution, shaped by it, and publicly separated from it, that stance would feel heavy. Friends describe him as conflicted, frustrated, wanting his children connected to the family that defined his entire life story. From his viewpoint, it wasn't just administrative detail, it felt personal, like doors closing quietly but firmly. From the palace's viewpoint, feelings can't override centuries of constitutional order, and that's the tension at the heart of it all. Heart versus history, emotion versus institution. In a monarchy that survives on structure, precedent wins every time. And so every appeal Harry made only exposed the widening gap between his California reality and the monarchy's ironclad tradition. What stings the most? Harry knows what inclusion feels like. He lived it. He walked palace corridors, stood on balconies, felt the weight and the privilege of belonging. Then he stepped away. Now he's staring at exclusion, not aimed at him but at his children. That hits different. And here's the painful truth. His pleas didn't collapse because he lacked emotion. They collapsed because inside the monarchy, emotion carries zero authority. Rules outrank feelings, every single time. Inside that institution, legacy is paperwork, not passion. It's seals, signatures, and statutes written long before Harry was born. He may speak from the heart, but the palace responds from the rulebook. That mismatch was never going to end softly. So let me ask you, do Do you believe Harry's emotional appeals were genuine, or was it another calculated PR move?
Prince William will strip his exiled brother Prince Harry's children of their HRH titles when he becomes king.
But apparently for me, that doesn't matter.
But if she hasn't had the children herself, or Harry hadn't been involved, then they can't be in the royal line. They have to have royal blood, those little ones. Without that, there's no chance of them becoming a member of the royal family.
Drop your take below, because this debate isn't slowing down anytime soon. When the palace finally acted, it didn't murmur. It moved with paperwork and precision. Legal confirmations backed up what years of distance had already suggested. Archie and Lilibet were no longer positioned inside the formal royal framework. No titles, no succession standing, no institutional security structure. In royal language, that isn't a small adjustment. It's a total structural separation. And structural separation in monarchy terms is massive. It redraws maps. It reshapes futures. It signals to governments, historians, and the public exactly where the line stands. That's not drama. That's design. The monarchy doesn't make moves like that lightly. When it does, it sends a signal that echoes far beyond the present moment. This wasn't framed as personal. It wasn't labeled emotional. It was presented as preservation. For Meghan and Harry's children, the shift wasn't about importance as individuals. It was about institutional alignment. Their names may trend worldwide. They may dominate headlines. But inside the official lineage that maps the Windsor dynasty, structure comes first. And here's the hard edge of it all. The children didn't create this battle. They didn't choose interviews, memoirs, or global exits. Yet they'll grow up in the shadow of decisions made publicly and policies enforced historically. That contrast is what makes this story so heavy. Public opinion might swing back and forth, social media might pick sides, but institutions don't sway with hashtags. They hold the line. That's how they've survived for centuries. From the palace perspective, this wasn't punishment. It was consistency, protecting guidelines written more than a century ago. To outsiders, it can look cold, even ruthless, but the monarchy has survived wars, scandals, abdications, and global change by clinging to one principle: survival over sentiment. For Archie and Lilibet, survival of the institution meant a door closed firmly. No ceremony, no dramatic speech, just official documentation redefining their place in history. In that quiet act, Buckingham Palace drew a line sharp enough that no streaming contract, no Hollywood alliance, and no emotional interview could blur it. And here's the part people don't say out loud. Once the institution steps back, it rarely steps forward again. Reversals are rare. Exceptions are rarer. That finality is what makes this moment feel so heavy. This chapter doesn't end with glittering titles or golden succession charts. It ends with signatures, silence, finality. What the palace executed wasn't just legal housekeeping. It was a statement woven deep into the monarchy's DNA, one that stretches far beyond Montecito sunshine and Netflix cameras. Archie and Lilibet will likely grow up loved, comfortable, and free from palace constraints, but the narrative will always follow them. The royal heirs who weren't positioned within the formal fold. Meghan and Harry challenged tradition. They reshaped their story. They built independence. But the monarchy answered with precedent, not negotiation. Heritage in that system isn't flexible. It's enforced. And that leaves one lingering question hanging in the air. Did Meghan and Harry truly grasp the machine they were pushing against? Or did they believe global celebrity could outmuscle centuries of constitutional order? The truth feels sharp, and it feels final. But royal drama never really ends. It evolves. Every decision triggers ripple effects. Every silence hides another layer. If this revelation caught you off guard, you need to see what led up to it. Go watch my previous video right now so you can connect the dots that were forming long before Archie and Lilibet were even born. And make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Because in this spotlight, no crown stays polished for long, and no secret stays buried forever.